Hello, folks. Can you hear me? Okay. Thanks for coming today for Dylan's celebration of life. His father, Rick, has some words to say. After we're through here in the chapel, we're going to have a reception in the large room across the foyer. We hope you stay and enjoy some sandwiches and share some fellowship. I'll leave this to Rick now.
Check, check, check. Okay. My big addition here on a microphone. So thank you to Leland for introducing me. I want to welcome friends, family, coworkers, and everybody else that's here to take memories of Dylan, our son. Never done this before, so you have to bear with me. And the crowd goes wild. Dylan was born in 1997 at the stroke of midnight. That being said, his mother and I were informed at the hospital staff that we had a choice in selecting his birth date. It could be either the 1st or the 30th. And his older brother, Derek, he was on the 1st, mine was on the 30th. We thought both boys should have separate dates, so Dylan became the 30th, which was mine, but that way they were separated. Dylan's name, I didn't write this down, so I put a little note here to ad-lib this. He was, when Derek was born, he was our first, and so I kind of felt it was my opportunity to name him. So that's how he was born, or named, was my middle name, his granddad's name, and of course his unique first name. And then when Dylan was born, I left it up to Deb, and so she thought she would look at her Irish background of her mom, and so it was Dylan, and middle name Patrick, which was her mom's brother, so Deb's uncle, and that's how the name came about. And the spelling for Dylan was Dylin. So whenever people would ask me, how do you spell the name? And I always said, like Bob. So everybody got it, As a baby, and as a baby, and like all babies, Dylan was sweet, lovable, curious, trying new things that they all do in an early in life. His first adventures were soon shared with his brother. First adventure he soon shared with his brother, but about 6 months earlier, was camping. We had purchased a new truck camper in the February of '98, which had heat, refrigeration, stove, oven, self-contained, could easily sleep 4 people. And it was the first of many trips as we as a family enjoyed. Before Dylan started school, he'd been camping several times and fishing in western and eastern Washington. Most memorable trip we were on was the Oregon coast, down through the Redwood Forest in Northern California, cut over to San Francisco, Yosemite National Park, and this was in the year 2000, 2001. We made another trip to Lolo, Montana, ran down the panhandle of Idaho into the Sawtooth area, followed the Snake River to Jackson Hole, spent some time in Jackson Hole, then we spent 2 nights in Yellowstone, up to Great Falls and back home. That was just kind of a typical summer for us. Dylan started school in 2003. We had given him a small pocket calculator to play with because he was always inquisitive about stuff. He had somehow taught himself how to add and subtract, so by the time he entered 1st grade, at his parent-teacher conference, the teacher informed us that she really didn't know where Dylan was in math because he was well in advance of all the other students in the class. By then, he was starting to understand multiplying and some division, so he was kind of getting a grip on the numbers, The balance of school year, pretty typical. Played soccer in early grade school years, played trumpet throughout all of junior high and most of high school. You know, being the band at the football games and everything like that was always fun. Winter of 2004 was his first year ski lessons, followed up in 2005 by the second year. The winter of 2006, that would be the start of a family tradition of skiing vacations. Dylan went with us from 2006 to 2016 on several trips. These included Whistler, Sun Peaks in BC, Canada, Schweitzer, Silver Mountain, Sun Valley in Idaho, Bachelor in Oregon, Steamboat Springs, Breckenridge in Colorado, and Park City in Utah, as well as the local places here at Crystal Mountain, Stevens, Snoqualmie Pass, and Mission Ridge. He was also lucky enough to go with us to go to the Big Island, Hawaii for a week plus, and Miami Beach and Key West. During those school years, there were many camping and fishing trips, from CQ for silvers and pink salmon to local lakes for trout and kokanee, to eastern Washington for trout and walleye, along with a dozen trips to Hood Canal for crabbing. There was also a 6-7 year span that we spent a lot of dirt bike riding. 2016 was marked his graduation from high school. He started working for the National Golf Course over here near Auburn, and then he was applied and was accepted at WSU. His third week of August, WSU classes start. We dropped him off at the dorm. He was a little, He was a little apprehensive, but also pretty excited. A month later, Deb and I were on a long road trip, and we met both Derek and Dylan at McDonald's in Pullman for lunch. Both seemed healthy, but Dylan looked thinner than he did when we dropped him off. I just kind of left thinking it was just the walking up and down all those hills they have in Pullman, because it's like everywhere you go, it's uphill. You never get a break. And let me see, I was, following Thursday, I was thinking about him, and I was laid over up at the Four Corners Fred Meyer. So I gave him a call, and he told me he was in the hospital in Pullman, and I said, why? Type 1 diabetes. So we rushed over Friday morning. Spent 2 days in the hospital about diabetes. Sunday morning, he was discharged. We got him all set up with things he needed. We came back on his birthday. He looked really good. Everything was going well. Year 2 in college, we helped him move into an apartment, and he shared with 2 other mates. His excitement for college seemed to have diminished a bit, maybe because he had to do his own shopping and cooking. I'm not sure, but that's how we kind of left it. 4 weeks into leaving for his summer break, Dylan gets an email. We were told to come back to the apartment to move his stuff out because they were going to do a remodel. And I just didn't think that was acceptable, so I kept kind of hounding with the management, trying to come up with a way to make a better solution. So I talked them into finishing one of the empty rooms, and we would come over when they were done and move his stuff into that, lock it up to be until the start of the new school year. 8 weeks later, we returned to an empty room. All of his things got tossed into a dumpster. Unbelievable. So we had to, everything was gone. He had a bed, desk, refrigerator. Always had a refrigerator because with type 1, I wanted him to have his refrigerator at all times so he could store his insulin. Nobody could screw around with it, So we had to scramble to go out and purchase all of that stuff in like one day. That was a big pain. But they compensated us pretty well for their mistake. Where was he at? Dylan was never the same after that whole situation, and he dropped out of school after New Year's of 2019. He just informed me he wasn't going back. So I thought, well, ran out and bought him a car. Said, you need to get a job. You're going to sit around the house and play video games forever and ever, So he worked at that golf course, again, and seemingly liked it, but there were some issues he didn't like about it. His mom and I were in Big Sky, Montana, and called him, see how things were going. He said, Dad, I quit my job. And I'm like, oh, great. Here we go again. So a few weeks later, he started working at Costco in Covington. And Costco turned out to be his career job. He saved up money to buy his dream car, a Lexus LS. Moved into an apartment with his high school friend and his girlfriend. It lasted a year, but that was expected. Even he knew that was going to be a short-lived deal. From 2019 to 2024, September, he was definitely the happiest he'd been since he was a kid. He had a good job, internet game friends. He went on I can't read now. I'm underwater. He went on a 4-day skiing trip with Deb and I, his mom, to Schweitzer in February 2022. He'd become a pretty good skier by then. Went to a Portland racetrack, NASCAR race on his own. His 5 great gamer friends, who they'd never met in person, got together for a 4 or 5 day stay in Pocono, PA, for a big NASCAR race. He had a blast there. And then he did a 5 or 6 day road trip down the Oregon coast through California to San Francisco. Stayed in some apartment that I thought looked kind of ratty and questionable to me, but it was near San Francisco, and he thought it was a great place. So no problems, he said. His mom and I went to an IndyCar race with him at Portland on August 25th of 24. Had a barbecue at his Aunt Becca's house. It was August of 31st, I guess. That is month 9, right? August? Yeah. And he had smoked dinner at my house on September 4th, 24. And now he's here with us. Derek.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, everyone. It means a lot to see that Dylan had some people that loved him, not just our immediate family. So it's nice that he had a lot of family and friends. Yep, I'm Derek, his older brother, only sibling. Before I get started on my speech, I wanted to read one of the stories that Dylan wrote when he was a senior in school. It's just a few blurbs to read out about what his mom, dad, and myself meant to him. So, for his dad, he said that his dad was a great influence in life, helped him shape who he was today. He helped me to work hard. He helped him to work hard in school and always apply himself in whatever he was doing. His father also taught him many life skills, from wrenching on cars to how to hook a fish, and also helping out with figuring out what to do with his life after high school and beyond. His dad helped him throughout high school and school in general, volunteered at this time to help with many various school projects, such as a Rube Goldberg machine that they made in 8th grade. Then his father also taught him discipline and how every action can always have consequences. Without the guidance of his father, he probably would have been a lot worse off in school. Because I always pushed him to take more challenging classes and try to show him what true potential there was that he had as far as school went. He'd also be lost after high school because he'd have really no drive to pursue anything had it not been for my dad to kick his ass into gear. And his father greatly helped shape who he was, and he's very thankful that he had such a positive role model. Sorry, this is a bit harder than I thought it was going to be. On to Mom. Mom has always greatly shaped who he was throughout childhood and adolescent years. His mom helped him learn many useful skills that he would then later use on in life, such as cooking and how to maintain his living space. Because without her, it would have been a complete pigsty at all times. She, along with Dad, encouraged him to apply himself in school and would not accept his poor grades because they both knew that he was much more capable of much more than just the bare minimum. And both Mom and Dad both encouraged him to be very interested in math and science projects, or math and science subjects. And those later on to be subjects that he found that he was fairly proficient in. Without his mom's encouragement, he'd probably been much more of a slacker than he is now, and would have had a very poor work ethic. His mom was there to make sure that he wasn't falling behind in school. It would have interventions with him and his dad whenever a bad report card came in, and almost interrogate him. How did this happen, and get him back on the path to get more stellar grades. His mom was a person that was really believed that hard work was vital in life, and she passed that knowledge on to him later on in school. He looked up to his mom because he knew that she knew what was best for him and wouldn't allow him to fail in life. His mom was one of the most positive role models that he could have, and he's thankful that she cared for so much and cared about him and his future. Then on to me. So that his brother's probably the most relatable role model I have. Mainly because there's only a 4-year difference between me and him. Since I was older, he said that I guess I was the test kid for the parents, so they let all the lessons learned, beta testing be done through me. So when he came, things were a bit more smoother. He said it. I also guess would pass on a lot of his knowledge on him, and even to this day, I would give him advice for college and what to do and what not to do. And again, to this day, this is present tense or past tense when he was in high school. I sparked an interest in him in engineering after he said that I myself was going to be majoring that at WCU, and after that, he at least set his sights initially when he went to college to kind of follow my tracks and be an engineer. And he said, without my brother, probably would not have be going into college, and would probably have no clear mindset on what degree to have, and would probably just go there just to party and piss away the the gift that my parents gave him by paying for his trip there or for his schooling. He said also that his brother was also one that helped him that grades aren't everything, and that it's also helped him in high school because he helped form a lot of study habits and told me how vital it was in college. My brother's been a tremendous role model for me, and I can't imagine how I would have turned out without him. And on that note, I will take a little bit of or just initially, side note to that is that, even though I was saying all the nice things being there, I'll start by saying that me and Dylan we're not very close, and I could probably argue weren't as close as we could have been. I mean, to put it in perspective, he he didn't even have me saved as a contact in his phone. But you know, although we weren't not very close, you know, that's not to say that we didn't get along. We did, well, mostly. Growing up, there were periods of time where we would get along, and more times where we'd fight a lot. Times that we were closest would be early on in our lives, back when we were both kids, like me from the age of 4 to 8, and him being from newborn all the way up to pre-K. Those times were probably the closest we were. This was a time before video games, so we spent most of our time just horsing around the yard and stuff, either riding our bikes or little carts or playing catch. I also remember on a one Halloween I was I was sick. I think I was around 6 years old. Came down with the chicken pox unexpectedly, and poor me could not go out trick or treating. But Dylan, being the little sweetheart he was, took made sure to bring an extra pail with him to trick or treat, and made sure to go to house. Made sure that he wasn't being greedy, trying to get a double up on the yield that he'd get as far as candy goes, but that he was getting it for his poor brother. So that was very sweet of him, that I could at least still have some of that Halloween candy when I could not be out there myself. Yeah. Then once when I was around the age 10, we started to fight a bit more. This was also the time when we started getting video game consoles, and there's only one of them and two of us, so you have to have segmented scheduled play times. And me being the bigger brother, it was a bit easier for me to strong arm my way to get more play time. And yeah, even when we weren't playing around, when we were playing around, just around that age, things would get more physical, and I would either accidentally or intentionally hurt him, whether that be pushing him too hard playing tag, or wanting to throw a football at his head just because. But yeah, not really sure why I was such a bully to him at the time, but it could have just been because it was easier for me, because he was smaller and weaker for me. But talking to my dad later in life, actually told me that Dylan kind of hated me during that time of his childhood, which looking back, I'm not surprised. If I was in his shoes, I'd probably hate me too. But later on, once we were out of elementary school, or at least for myself, going through the various other stages of middle school and high school, we didn't really associate that much together. We were never in the same school. Like, by the time I was a senior in high school, he was still in middle school, so we never really weren't able to cross paths in the halls of the various schools we attended. And then if it wasn't really in school, I was mainly hanging out with my own friends, not really interacting with Dylan too much, since he was a bit too. I felt he was a bit too young to hang out with. I kind of want to hang out with people more my age. And during his time, Dylan's time, being in middle school and high school, he didn't have a whole lot of close friends. He was pretty shy, and he didn't really get out of his comfort zone that often. Most of his free time was just being hunkered down, throwing the backpack down when he gets back from school, and logging on Xbox, playing until supper, play more, and then get told, okay, you got to go to bed now, and then rinse, repeat. Around his junior and senior year in high school, he started to make a few more friends on Xbox. After Dylan's passing, one of his online friends reached out to me, and his friend Austin, who later told me that Dylan has been his best friend for a little over 10 years. And Austin, as well as the other online friends, those were the ones that went to the Pocono Raceway Speedway in Pennsylvania with Dylan for that past NASCAR race. Austin said that Dylan was constantly making him laugh and smile over the course of their friendship. Dylan loved to make Austin laugh, whether it's in the form of his witty, smart-ass remarks or antics that he he'd do when they were playing games together, or just sending goofy memes over text or on their Discord server. And then Dylan's other friends, online friends, apart from Austin, also had very similar things to say. That he was always a joy to be around, and always making him smile. And Austin also told me that Dylan helped him out with a lot of rough patches in his life. Because Austin had a rough relationship with his father, and Dylan, being his close friend, helped teach him that he shouldn't be hating his father, and helped Austin restore his relationship with his father. So Dylan was a good moral support for Austin in his times of needs. Even so much of helping Austin secure the current job that he has. Austin also mentioned that, like Dad was saying, that he was happy, and he never seemed to be sad. And even if he was feeling down, bummed out, he'd always do his best to not let that show to his friends and everything else. Always be in good spirits for them. And the more I was talking to Austin, I was surprised to hear that Austin was he knew of some of the fun cars that I had, mainly due to Dylan telling him and his other online friends how cool they were. Whenever I bought a new car, I'd always show it off to my parents and family, friends, and Dylan. And recently bought a new one a few months ago, and showed it off at my aunt and uncle's barbecue events, and took Dylan out for some quick rips in it, a lot of full throttle pulls, and throwing some skids in there. Just doing some nice legal below the speed limit activities. And we had a blast. Austin told me that later that night, Dylan went on when they were playing video games together. He went on one of the racing games and started using the same exact car that I had, and telling his friends how much fun he had on his drive. Yeah, but little did I know that that day would be my last, as well as several others in the family, last time ever seeing him again. That being only like 2 weeks before his passing. At the at the end of the barbecue, Dylan mentioned that he wasn't even planning on attending. He was probably thought his time was more well spent playing video games, or just whatever else he had on his agenda. But I guess at the last minute he decided that he wanted to attend, and I'm very glad that he did attend, because I think that was the first time I've seen him in months. So, and like I said, little did I know that would have been the last time to ever see him again. But even though we fought a lot as kids, I'm glad that we get along without any fighting or drama in our adult years. I'm glad our last interaction was not of us fighting, but that being a pleasant one that I will always remember. And although I can't really say that I'm glad that me and Dylan weren't close, it has at least made last few weeks a little bit easier. So closing statements are, Dylan, thank you for being a good son to Mom and Dad. Thank you for being a good brother to me. Thank you for being a good friend to Austin, as well as your other online friends, and bringing so much joy to everyone's life. Goodbye forever. You will be missed. So I think that was at least the last of our planned talks up here. I will open up the mic to anyone else who has anything to say. Understandable if there's nothing else to be said, and don't want to put any pressure on anyone, but I think that concludes the planned speeches that we had. So, thanks.
I'm just going to embellish a little bit about that trick-or-treat thing. When Derek was sick, and Dylan would go up and get his bag, and then he'd go, "This one's for my brother. He's really sick." And they thought it was so cute, they loaded up that one with more stuff. So Derek actually made it better. I do remember that. Yeah, so if there's anybody else who wants to come up and speak, it's a free open mic now.
All right. Hi, if you don't know me, I'm Gabriel. I used to be Dylan's manager for a while, for a couple years. I'm actually the one who hired him into Costco. So I did interview him. Great interviewer, by the way. So obviously got the job. So did a really, really good job. He was really shy at first. Dylan was very, very shy. You know, he worked the closing shift, and but I'll tell you something though. He was really determined to get to that opening shift, and he works so hard. And you mentioned the car. I can't tell you how happy he was about the wheels when he got the new with the new wheels on the car. He was so happy. And then like a thing was like, just kept surprising me with like the genre of music I listened to. Like it would be from like country all the way to like techno EDM, and then I'd walk into something new every single day. Like it was, and during the time that I did work with Dylan, he was a really happy. He worked up to the shopper part, which is like a really important role in our department, and he did a really, really good job. Like he was definitely one of those people that I could really rely on. Like whether coming in early, late, OT, or anything like that. He was my chicken guy, and like that job is rough, man. Like no one likes to do that job at all, but he did it really, really well, and he did a really good job. And I'm gonna miss him so much. Like I've been out of the department for a couple years, and then, I get a call and this happens, and I'm just gonna miss him so much. He was a big impact in our department, and he did a lot for us, honestly. And yeah, that's all I got.
Hello. Hi. I'm Jordan. I was an old coworker of Dylan's, and yeah, I worked with him there at Costco doing chickens and all that stuff. And when I first started working for Costco, I was like, it's not going to be here that long. And yeah, soon, around that time is when COVID and all those things started happening. And I personally, I have a lot of people went through some pretty rough patches in time in my life. But one of the things is Dylan was actually one of those few people who I always looked forward to going into work and talking with every day. He would make every day better. I hated doing the chicken so much. I wanted to stop that, did everything I could to get out of that. But he was always just on top of that, and he'd do that, and I appreciated him so much. And I do somewhat regret not being able to, I felt close to him, but I didn't, as I do with a lot of people, I don't reach out to hang out with him. I wish I did. He was a really good guy who I really appreciated, and he'll always have an impact on my life. So he will be missed.
Okay, this is going to be tough, but I'm Trisha. I'm Debbie's sister. And when Debbie was having her knee operated on, I had the honor of taking care of the boys. And the fondest memory I had of Dylan, I have a handicap sticker because I had had my hips replaced, and Dylan wanted McDonald's. So we drove up in Kent, there was a gas station or something that had a McDonald's. And I pulled up in the handicap spot. And right then, a Kent police officer pulled up behind me with his lights on. And I said, "Oh, great." And I showed him all my stuff. He left and everything. And Rick calls me the next day to tell me that, he goes, "Did anything happen with you and Dylan?" And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because a police officer went by and Dylan said, 'Oh, great.'" So I'll always remember that.
Hi, my name's Tim. I was a coworker of Dylan's for the last 2 years. I really got to know him over the last year, and he's very kind, very sincere. Boy stuff. We talked about cars and music, mostly family. He was very proud of you guys. You could really tell the difference that you guys made in his life and how proud he was to be a part of your guys' family. That's mostly what I wanted to say. I wanted you guys to hear that.
Well, looks like everybody's had their say. We can start the reception next door. I think they're set up over there. And if that's it, I guess we're done. I am looking into buying a DeLorean and seeing if there's a way I can go back in time to get him. Anyways, thank you all for showing up.